American has a role to play. New York and Jersey reporting their death toll a single day. The president saying the people of New York and New Jersey are tough, strong, and brave. Tonight, new images inside a New York City ER, the decisions they're being forced to make with patients. St. John the Divine Cathedral now being converted into a makeshift hospital. Navy hospital ship Comfort now taking hundreds of COVID-19 patients. Testing positive. The new numbers tonight, the breakdown among men and women, and the alarming numbers on African Americans in this country. The terrible toll, and we hear from doctors on the front lines on this. And President Trump and Dr. Anthony Fauci just moments ago weighing in too. Tonight, Michigan sounding the alarm, running out of personal protective equipment, parts of Louisiana with the highest death rate in the U.S. Tonight, the father of four on a ventilator in Indianapolis, among the many in this country fighting for their lives. The American workers tonight who are still working at great risk, and this evening, the 27-year-old grocery store employee who went to work to help seniors, that worker has now died. The toll on doctors, nurses, healthcare workers now getting sick. In Michigan, more than 1,500 showing symptoms. The acting Secretary of the Navy who called that Navy captain stupid after that captain sounded the alarm with his sailors getting sick from the virus. Tonight, the acting secretary now out of a job, and Martha Raddatz with news on the captain who reportedly has the virus, his condition. We have new reporting tonight on British Prime Minister Boris Johnson after he was moved into intensive care. He's now on oxygen. And Dr. Jen Ashton answering your questions tonight. Why are some Americans getting hit so much harder than others? What the numbers now reveal.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on this Tuesday night as we mark that grim milestone tonight, the deadliest 24 hours yet. New York alone with 731 deaths on a single day. New Jersey with very difficult numbers as well tonight. In fact, President Trump moments ago saying we send our love to the great people of New York and New Jersey, calling them tough, strong, and brave, as I mentioned. He also talked about African Americans in this country and the terrible toll from the virus. Tonight, we look into that as well and what Dr. Anthony Fauci is now saying. Of course, the other hotspots tonight, Michigan, Louisiana, and Florida, and the number of deaths in the U.S., more than 12,000 now. 2,000 more than we reported last night as we came on the air. New York's hospitals facing very difficult decisions. Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn giving ABC News a tour of their ICU, and one doctor putting it bluntly, saying this is a mass casualty event, adding it's like war. The need for beds still growing tonight. The Navy hospital ship Comfort now taking COVID-19 patients. St. John's the Divine Cathedral will become New York City's newest field hospital. Michigan is now seeing the third highest number of deaths in the country. One hospital system reporting 1,500 staff are showing symptoms. Louisiana tonight, one parish alone with a death rate more than double the rate of New York City's. And again this evening, we have news on the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson in intensive care, now being given oxygen. News from the Queen and from 10 Downing Street tonight. But we're going to begin here in this country. The president saying moments ago, this is a monster we're fighting. He thanked Americans for following the guidelines to stay home, saying everyone has a role to play. And so we begin with ABC's Tom Llamas here in New York.
Tonight, more evidence the battle against coronavirus is far from over. New York dealing with its highest single-day spike in deaths. 731 lives lost to COVID-19.
That's 731 people who we lost. Behind every one of those numbers is an individual, is a family, is a mother, is a father, is a sister, is a brother.
The city alone losing more than 4,000 people. That's more than perished in the World Trade Center attack. But tonight, the governor pointing to a sign of hope. The rates of hospitalizations are going down.
You see that plateauing. That's because of what we are doing. If we don't do what we are doing, that is a much different curve.
But inside hospitals, doctors and nurses are still suiting up for a war. Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn taking us into their ICU.
Let's go.
We're right there as Dr. William Pascal is alerted there is a patient in desperate need of help.
No, ventilator.
As Dr. Pascal rushes, warning alarms on medical equipment are going off. A nurse telling us what's happening. A patient is having extreme trouble breathing. They need to flip her onto her stomach.
And help them secrete the mucus better.
This is the moment doctors face around the clock. Life or death in the hands of this medical team. Within minutes, Dr. Pascal comes out. They've stabilized the patient. He tells us what just happened.
What happened just now is an absolute emergency. It's a life or death situation. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing with a lot of our patients here. It's, we run around this unit many times just putting out fires.
With hospitals still pushed to the brink, new spaces are still opening. The naval hospital ship, the Comfort, will be taking up to 500 COVID-19 patients. And now, the country's largest Gothic cathedral, St. John the Divine, to be converted during this Holy Week into a field hospital. Tents to be set up beneath the nave and in the crypt below. A drastic step, but doctors telling us so much of this virus is shocking.
I just took like a bird's eye view of the ER and saw all the people struggling to breathe and all the monitors with low oxygen. And I broke down and cried. It's been like a bad dream. Lawrence and Christine Haynes are both emergency room doctors, sending their young son and daughter away so they could tend to the ill.
Just knowing that every day we are hopefully making a difference and, saving lives and showing up and being where we need to be, I think that's enough motivation to get through this hard part and, just look forward to the good times of being with your family again.
And tonight, new numbers in New York reveal 61% of those killed were men. 63% were age 70 or over. 86% had underlying conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes, heart disease, and dementia. All of this as funeral homes in New York are struggling to keep up to lay victims to rest with dignity.
We're trying to make it easier for the families, but again, it's hard. It's a very hard situation right now.
Experts warning the peak in many places is still days away. Michigan running out of PPE, extending their state of emergency into July. Those shortages coming on the heels of a new report from the Health and Human Services Inspector General, revealing more than 300 hospitals were concerned 2 weeks ago about delays in lab results and not having enough staff to run ventilators if they got them. In Louisiana, one parish has seen death rates at more than double the rate of New York City. But now, the state is getting more of those critical ventilators.
Just because we think we're starting to flatten the curve doesn't mean our job is over. And in fact, now is the time to double down.
Ventilators are so important for patients like Paul Logan, a 57-year-old athletic director from Indianapolis. The father of 4 is now fighting for his life on a breathing machine. His family asking for prayers, his students rallying around their coach.
We are praying for a speedy recovery, as we know every single Panther is resilient.
No one wanted us to succeed more than you did, and we're really thinking about you and your family. Stay strong.
We're all confident in your ability to fight through. You be in our thoughts and prayers. Get well soon.
All of them sending a message tonight. Tom Llamas with us tonight outside St. John the Divine Cathedral, the site of that planned field hospital in the coming days. And Tom, as we cover this outbreak in the middle of this storm, there are also new questions tonight about what the federal government knew and when they knew it, whether they did enough to prepare Americans for this.
David, our reporting team down in Washington has confirmed that trade advisor Peter Navarro sent 2 memos to the White House in January and in February warning that millions of Americans could die of the coronavirus and it could cost the economy trillions of dollars. Tonight, the president was asked about this. He says he didn't know about the memos, he didn't read them, and he doesn't know if it would have changed anything. He's defending his response, even though critics say the president did restrict travel to China. For weeks afterwards, he did downplay the severity of this disease. David?
All right, Tom Llamas with reaction from Washington. And I should note that ambulance that went behind Tom, that is such a common sight these days here in New York City. There are ambulances everywhere you look. Tom, our thanks to you again tonight. Of course, the toll on workers in this country still showing up at great risk. The grocery store worker who has now died. And at one Michigan hospital alone tonight, 1,500 workers are now showing symptoms. And so Matt Gutman tonight on the workers risking their lives every day.
Tonight, Leilani Jordan's mother says her daughter only stopped working at a supermarket when she could no longer breathe.
She felt that there was a need to be there to support our senior community and people with disabilities.
She was only 27.
When she coded in the hospital, she coded in my arms. When she flatlined in my arms.
African Americans being hit disproportionately hard by the virus. In Chicago, they comprise only 30% of the population, but account for a staggering 72% of deaths.
On the African American community, and we're doing everything in our power to address this challenge. It's a tremendous challenge. It's terrible.
In Michigan, healthcare workers slammed by a wave of infection. These nurses claim they were sent home after refusing to work without proper safety measures.
We basically were told to leave because we refuse to accept unsafe staffing, unsafe patient load.
25 patients to one nurse.
In a statement, the hospital says it's working on ways to mitigate capacity issues and increase supplies. Another hospital system in the state reporting 1,500 healthcare workers have symptoms. The hospital says they don't know if some of them have the virus because they don't have enough tests. Across the country, private clinics like this California Urgent Care trying to increase those numbers.
Right now, we know that we're under testing. We don't know the extent of the disease, and I think that understanding the disease pattern will help us understand when we can begin to resume normal life.
For Leilani Jordan's mother, life will never get back to normal, but tonight she's pleading for more protection for essential workers.
To protect the people that are vulnerable, to protect the trash, the people that take the trash out, protect the garbage man, protect the recycle man, protect those in the dollar store, protect those in even Home Depot, protect the low workers.
It is such an important message tonight, Matt, that when we do go out to the grocery stores and the pharmacies and all these places where these essential workers are still showing up to work, that we have to keep our distance. If we cough or sneeze, do it into your arm or just stay home. We have to protect those workers. And I know grocery stores around the country, Matt, you've been learning, are trying to put in some social distancing rules to protect workers going forward.
They are. Big stores, too, David, like Walmart is only allowing 20% of its usual occupancy into stores. Other places like Whole Foods putting up those plastic barriers between customers. But Leilani's mother is saying more needs to be done, and we could do more of it, including wearing masks in stores like that. Just one more thing, David. Leilani's mother called her daughter her butterfly. David.
All right, Matt, thank you. And we should let everyone at home know that Matt and all of our reporters are wearing masks when they're not on the air with me here during the news. And there's also news coming in tonight on the acting Secretary of the Navy, who called that Navy captain stupid after the captain sounded the alarm about his sailors getting sick from coronavirus. Tonight, that acting Navy secretary is now out of a job. And the president just moments ago saying he had no role in the Navy secretary resigning, saying it was, quote, unselfish of him to resign. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Thomas Modly had tried apologizing late last night for mocking the captain he had fired, but the damage had already been done. The crew of the Roosevelt had made no secret of their support for Captain Brett Crozier, but Monday, Modly flew to Guam to tell the crew why he fired their captain, belittling Crozier for the letter he had sent pleading for help for his crew as the coronavirus spread through the ship. A move Modly called a betrayal in a recording secretly provided to the veteran-focused media outlet Task and Purpose.
If he didn't think that information was going to get out into the public in this information age that we live in, then he was A, too naive or too stupid to be the commanding officer of a ship like this.
That what the bleep you hear at the end is one of the crew listening to Modly in a separate room. While the Secretary of Defense accepted Modly's resignation, President Trump a short time ago said he would not have asked for it.
Your secretary probably shouldn't have said quite what he said. He didn't have to resign, but he felt it would be better for the country.
As for Captain Crozier, I'm told he is doing well. He reportedly has COVID. All of the COVID cases from the ship are mild or moderate, and there are about 230 of them, David.
All right, Martha, our thanks to you again tonight on this. And, of course, we continue to monitor reports out of the UK this evening. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson still in intensive care, now being treated with oxygen. And ABC's Ian Pannell from London tonight.
Tonight, Boris Johnson remains in intensive care for a second night, and Britain must fight the coronavirus without its leader.
He remains stable overnight.
He's receiving standard oxygen treatment and breathing without any assistance.
Hospital staff led global get well wishes for Britain's Prime Minister, Prince William tweeting that he hopes for a speedy recovery. President Trump saying Americans will pray for him. Johnson's former communications chief, Will Walden, spoke with his friend just last week, telling ABC News Boris is a fighter.
How hard is this personally to have to go through this in such a public manner?
Look, I think it'll be very tough for him, not least because he's a reluctant patient. He doesn't wear illness very well.
Today, the Queen's sending a message of support to Johnson's pregnant fiancée and his family.
David, health officials here at St Thomas's know that the conditions of coronavirus can persist and get worse, and that's why they're being cautious in their approach, if optimistic that the Prime Minister makes a full recovery. David?
All right, Ian Pannell with the latest from London. Thank you, Ian. And amid this pandemic here at home, several presidential primaries have been rescheduled, but Wisconsin went ahead today with voting. So Mary Bruce tonight with the images. The voters determined to exercise their right. But with this virus, how much risk was involved?
In Wisconsin today, thousands waiting for hours, forced to choose between protecting their own health and exercising their right to vote. The frustration, clear.
I was kind of upset coming out here today. So stay home, be safe, but then they want us to come and do our civic duty.
Wisconsin's Democratic governor tried to postpone the election. The state's top health official issued this warning.
In-person voting would, without question, accelerate the transmission of COVID-19 and increase the number of cases.
But Republican lawmakers argued elections are essential services. The courts agreed they should not be postponed. And today, President Trump urged residents to get out and vote now for a conservative judge on the ballot. But in Milwaukee tonight, there are just 5 polling sites open, a fraction of the usual 180, making the crowds even bigger and the wait even longer. And of course, absentee ballots are going to be a huge issue heading into November. The president was just asked about this issue in the briefing, and he was deeply skeptical, saying without evidence that people, quote, cheat, calling them, quote, very dangerous. But David, it should, of course, be noted that the president himself has voted before by absentee ballot.
And of course, the question is, we just simply do not know how dangerous this virus will be come the fall. Anthony Fauci has said we don't know if it's going to come back. So a lot of discussion about potential absentee balloting. Mary, thanks for that. Coming up, Dr. Jen Ashton with the new numbers on Americans getting this. Why are some Americans getting hit much harder than others? She'll go down the numbers in just a moment.
Providing a layer of protection you can count on, WeatherTech features non-porous surfaces that can easily be wiped with germ-killing disinfectants and can easily be washed out for complete protection, front, back, and even up the sides. It's not so easy with carpet mats. Stay